everyone. Thanks for joining us. We are going to be having our first episode here today of Zone of Truth, which is hot takes on RPG rules and worlds. I have an awesome crew that is very excited to have a conversation on multiclassing today. So I'm going to let you guys introduce yourself. So let's start with Robert.
Hi, my name's Robert Wilson. A lot of the Rim Alternus people know me in the chat as Kindermage, and I'm also a freelance writer for Star Anvil Studios, and I've been gaming for longer than I care to admit.
Awesome. And are you pro or anti multiclassing?
Generally, I think that multiclassing, you should stay away from it if you can, because of the way the everything was play tested and balanced out for a single class. But there are a lot of circumstances where multiclassing does make sense to do.
So. Awesome. I'm excited to have someone that's against the grain to talk about that. That's what gets the drama going, you know. All right. How about you, Daniel?
Hi, this is Daniel Franco. I am a DM for a lot of the Adventures League games for a couple of years, so I'm actually going to run the new hardcover. I guess I'm neutral. I don't multiclass a lot myself, but I do deal with a lot of multiclass characters.
Okay. All right. Fair. Nilmerg, how about you?
Hey guys, Nilmerg. I've been gaming better part of 30 years now. Computer tech, Air Force veteran. Just enjoy playing games. And I'm more pro, but there's depending on what role I'm gonna play, is gonna be if I'm gonna multi-class or if I'm gonna be against it. Depending on what kind of role of a character that I'm bringing to the story.
Great. So from a roleplay perspective, that's awesome. Now, as learning about you, for being a former Air Force member, I now have to ask everyone this because of Hal. Have you ever been injured by a dodgeball?
No.
I was hoping that was going to be a trend.
Oh.
I got to hear about that one later on.
Yeah, it's the only injury Hal's ever had. We got to hear that story on Saturday's stream. That's awesome. All right, Chris, how about you? Welcome back.
Why, thank you. I'm Chris. I've been playing role-playing games for the better part of 6 years, and I like arguing. So I can sling heat on either side of this argument. So bring it, fellas.
What? No way, I don't believe you.
Lies.
All right, and Andrew, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm Andrew. Most of the people that are familiar with me know me as Roadkill, but that's a nickname that's been following me for quite a while. As far as multiclassing goes, most of my friends would say I'm pro multiclassing because I do it so often, but really I'm more neutral on it. It's all depends on what kind of concept you want to go with for the story and your character, in my opinion.
Awesome. All right. So just kind of a hot take here. If you were to multi-class, is it more for the benefits in terms of the crunch and like what you're able to do? Or is it character focused for each of you? Like show of hands, who's more crunch focused and is like, oh, I'm going to min-max my character by multi-classing and it's great. Oh, Kendermage. Leave it to the two of you. And who
Oh, but wait, there's more.
Who prefers multi-classing because of the roleplay standpoint? Okay. Yeah.
I'm all about the creativity.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, great. So now we kind of have an idea of where everyone stands. For any viewers that are new to D&D or role-playing games in general, usually you select your race. So elves, dwarves, humans, whatever you want to pick. And then Turtles, if you're Chris. And then you choose your class. So this is what you do, what your character is as an adventurer. Are they a rogue? Are they a cleric? Are they a druid, a ranger, a fighter? So you can play that straight character throughout the game as you continue to level up. Or as you level up, you can choose as a barbarian from level 1 to 4, let's say, and now you've leveled up to level 5, and maybe you want to take a level of cleric or a level of wizard or whatever you want to do. So that's what multiclassing is, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to look at the pros, the cons, the rules perspective, the role play perspective, and see where these guys weigh in on the whole thing. So let's talk about the downside first. So what are the cons to multiclassing? Does anyone have something they want to start with?
Sure, for Daniel. The only con I would say for people who multi-class, or people who don't understand it fully, that's the issue. Like if they want to do one thing or another, or if they have an idea in mind, but no, you have to you do your class for a couple levels, or it might mess them up in the long run. It's just more of people who don't do it. They just can do it on a whim more than anything, or don't understand like what you need to put into it. That's the only con I can think of.
I can see that where your character sheet keeps getting longer and longer, and you don't know how to keep track of everything, so you might miss some of the things that you can do when you multi-class.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I like that. So what else is a con with multi-classing?
If you want to go like a purist role, late level,
Okay.
my main thing to go with druid. You've got your 2 wild shapes per day until you get to a 20th level to archdruid. If you multiclass, you cannot get to that to have your unlimited wild shapes.
Okay, so that purity of a class and what you can do when you get all the way up to those higher levels.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, Chris, you had something to say?
Another con is stats. Like some class requirements to multi-class into, and so you either roll well or you have to plan really far ahead, or be really cool about some shit on the fly if you're trying to multi-class you're into paladin and you only have like 6 strength. It's not going to work. You need to figure something out.
That's fair. That's
Yeah.
so if your stats are against it for a certain class. So
Yeah.
Or if you choose another spellcaster that maybe like a paladin, you've got charisma based. If you want to go against something else that's either a wisdom or intelligence, then that's also going to mess with your stats and everything, because those stats, even though you're still a caster, you may not have the stats appropriate where you need to benefit really with those spells.
right.
Exactly.
And even touching on that, just even casting your spells, because some of your spells would then be cast on like charisma, and then some would be cast on your wisdom, depending on if it's like a druid spell or something. Going with the druid paladin
Yeah.
example.
So it sounds like
You
you
don't want to
almost
divide
need
yourself too much.
yeah. So it sounds like you almost need your attributes to be at least above 10, which is your average for anyone that's new to playing.
Yeah.
So that you
It's
get at
mostly
least a
12,
bonus.
I think.
13
Right?
is what the
12
requirement
to
is,
13.
depending on what your class is.
Okay.
At least for 5th edition D&D.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. You need
Yeah.
There's a chart.
Yeah.
So
And then if I
Yeah.
could, oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
I'll touch on something in particular. I had a player, a buddy of mine. He had a rogue barbarian, which he was a level 5 rogue, level 5 barbarian, and it's kind of like, actually that's and he had the stats, so you need rage, and then if he gets attacked, he can uncanny dodge. It's like, oh, he can really. But the important thing though is that for a lot of his abilities, some will require strength, some will require dex. So if you get someone who just like wants to do that, oh, I want to do a ranger barbarian, then you got to be like, all right, well, if you're raging, yeah, it's not going to work if you're using like your rapier and you do in dex. You got to use your strength.
Yeah.
Oh, if you're doing
Yeah.
sneak attack, yeah, you got to be using a finesse weapon.
Right.
So
But you can still attack with strength and get sneak attack.
Oh,
It just has to be a finesse weapon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But those are those people who'd be like,
Scimitars,
I'm gonna
baby.
sneak attack.
That's what I was thinking
Well,
with
I'm gonna
scimitars.
sneak attack with my great axe, and it's like, no, you can't do that.
Uh-huh.
And
That's what
most
makes
horror
Scimitar
movies
so
I've
good.
seen, I think that happens.
What was that, Andrew?
Most horror movies I've seen, I think sneak attacks with axes happen all the time.
Oh well, yeah. That's,
yeah.
That's a
Tell that to
DM
Leatherface.
monster.
Right.
Awesome. All right, so we talked about there could be an issue with less power with the purity of multiclassing. You don't get that full power of a certain class. What about how does 5th edition compare for multiclassing with older editions?
I think it's a little more forgiving in some aspects, but in other aspects it can be a little harder to really get a lot of benefits of your levels with multiclassing.
And do you have any
mhm.
examples of previous editions that made it harder?
Yeah, like even 3rd edition or 3.5 D&D, or Pathfinder for that matter. As you go up in level, your base attack is dependent on your class. So, like one example, I had a character who just got to level 9 and finally hit base attack to where he can do 2 attacks. Finally.
Wow.
But it's just because of the levels, because a lot of classes start at 0, go in 1, and then don't really progress that much. So depending on the build, you might not be hitting a lot of things because of it. But in 5th edition D&D, everything's based off of a proficiency bonus that you'll have no matter what level you are and what class. Doesn't matter. So in that way, it's awesome.
Based off your true level, yeah.
Exactly. But depending on how you multiclass in 5th edition, you might not get any feats or ability increases, because those are all class-based, not character-based like in 3.5 or 3rd or Pathfinder. So
it's that balance,
exactly.
weighing the pros and cons for your character.
Right, and if anyone's interested in multiclassing, I wouldn't suggest it for a first-time player, because sometimes you do need to know what you're doing, or you can just fall into a hole.
There's ones that definitely coincide easier, like a barbarian mixed with wizard would be a lot more challenging than the barbarian rogue or the barbarian something that kind of mixes a little more with the fighter types, barbarian fighter.
Yeah, barbarian fighters was going to say, because then you be getting the rage, and then as you level up the fighter, you be getting the extra attacks. So those would
I did
coincide
have a
well with
friend.
one another.
I did have a friend who made a barbarian wizard who was the grapple king. You could not fuck with this man on the mat. All right. He made that shit work. He would fucking rage. He gave himself fucking like bear strength or whatever the fuck that spell was. Give him like some strength attacks.
I think there's ways
and then
to
that's
make
the
it.
wrap.
I think there's ways to make it work no matter what classes you want to put together, as long as you know the research and what you're getting into. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Great.
But you can make it work.
Yeah.
Now, what about are there any classes that you 100% should multiclass with?
Ranger.
Saw that coming.
Think we all
Yeah,
agree
if you're trying to be a ranger, well, it depends. Okay, what are you trying to do with your character is the more important thing. Like, because maybe ranger's not the class for you. Like, if you're trying to shoot someone with the bow, like that's great. Like, you could do that 1,000 different ways, and ranger is not the best way to do that anyway, right? So it's like, or are you trying, or is the pet the thing that you want?
So why is ranger not a good class standalone?
Just kind of misses the mark. It's like not focused enough. Like if you wanted to say, oh, go for it.
Oh, some of the things I've noticed, at least with 5th edition, is a lot of its abilities are very situationally focused, and some of them seem to be more RP based than mechanical based, like most of the other classes. Like the ability to travel over land without impediment and whatnot. That doesn't really happen, or something you have to worry about in combat half the time. Difficult terrain occasionally, but in actual traveling, you just kind of sum that up in 10 minutes, and half the time it doesn't matter if you can go faster or not.
So it's written so that more of the benefits happen outside of combat?
Yeah, a good amount of them can. They do get some benefits in combat, but in respect to the other classes, not as much, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of their benefits just get hand waved, I think is what he's getting at, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, all right, like you're gonna have your random encounter or you're not. Whether it takes an hour or 10 minutes, you're gonna have it or you're not. You're gonna get to your camp, right? So it's like it doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah. I know
Robert?
one of the things I liked was primeval awareness with a ranger, because you can sense certain creature types and everything if you're trying to track something down. But half the time in game, it always seems to be done as a radius and a distance of miles. So it's like it doesn't
Yeah.
narrow it down for you. You're just like, okay, it's here somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
about Robert? You were going to say something.
Oh, I think so. In third edition, they had the everybody was multiclassing into ranger to get the benefits of the first level ranger. Two-handed fighting and animal companion, and everything happened right there at first level, and they kind of nerfed that in the fifth edition, so you don't see it as much. Also, I've seen a lot of people say that on the fifth edition ranger, they put so much into the animal companion, which quickly becomes outclassed as you go up in levels. The animal companion just doesn't keep up with.
100%. That's what I was trying to touching on earlier. It's like that's the one thing that the Rangers get that no one else gets, and it's not even that great.
Yeah,
Daniel?
it becomes more of a dependent than a helper eventually.
Daniel, what were you going to say?
Yeah.
I was gonna say the exploration part for the ranger of the overland. That is very important, especially if you play with a DM or in games that you have random encounters. If you played in Tomb of Annihilation, Chult, you can get messed up badly if you don't have a tracker or ranger.
Yeah.
And even Storm King's Thunder was another hardcover. Because again, I do organized play, so I just play a lot of the hardcover stuff. So a lot of those adventures are like, oh, you're just wandering around in the cool. Good luck. Well, you're not going to see this thing that's going to jump you. You know, you're not going to the pack of owlbears that's an F your party up. And,
those abilities can be very useful, but it does depend on how
But
the
all
DM
that's just
treats them.
GM dependent. Yeah.
Okay.
Like everything at the end of the day can be DM dependent. No matter how fucking swole you can make your character, your DM's like 3 Tarrasque, deal with it, brah. Like you, what do? Like,
now, Robert, I think
so like
you had mentioned that you have a pretty strong opinion on always multi-classing a certain class, and what is that one?
Oh, never multi-class the rogue.
Never multi-class with the rogue. Okay. So in opposition to the ranger, which you should always multi-class with, we've got the rogue, which you should never multi-class with. And what are your reasons for that?
So, fifth edition,
the busted as shit.
the rogue starts off with a lot of skills, which the spellcasters, they're going to be hiding behind the rogue. But then as the spellcasters grow in ability, assuming they didn't multi-class, then they're going to have a lot more access to detect traps and invisibility and all the things that the rogue skill build at the first makes them more specialized in and better at. The spellcasters can do more and more as you go higher level, but the rogue, as they go higher in level, it becomes essential that they keep that rogue class so that they can increase their sneak attack damage, which basically is what they have going for them when they get into the higher levels, and they can do so much damage with those sneak attacks.
What's the highest sneak attack damage you remember seeing?
There was a 12th level rogue, I believe. I forgot what weapon he was using, but he was rolling 66 damage, and he had I think he was using rapiers, and he was dual welding. So he wasn't getting sneak attack on both of them, but he was doing a lot of damage, and because he was a halfling, he was able to step behind another party member, sneak attack, step back behind, hide, and he wasn't being hit. And so he was just dealing out all of this damage that the fighters were like, and I do my D8 damage, and then I swing and I miss, and then the rogue steps out, sneak attack, and his second attack, and then steps back and
disengages. Yeah, that bonus action disengage is so freaking huge because it's just it's so hard to hit them in combat. They're just dancing all over the place. So
Scout Rogue, one of the classes that just does Ranger better than Ranger.
Yeah.
Just to tie that shit in.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. I mean, they do it without the spells, So some of the spells can help the ranger out a little bit in some very specific areas, but yeah, a scout rogue can do a
I'm gonna hide in
lot
this
of
bush.
things. Yeah.
Blah!
Neat.
It's just
So,
out.
so I think we've kind of covered all of those cons. The less power by not staying pure with the class. The older editions talking about how it has multiclassing has gotten better, but like there's also still some problems with it. Never multiclass rogue, always multiclass ranger. So let's transition into some of the pros then. So what are some of your reasons that you guys go to? We have more pro or neutral multiclassers than we do anti-multiclassers. So what are your reasons for being pro multiclass?
All right, so if you're playing a wizard and you're not taking at least a level of cleric, you're doing it wrong. All
And
right,
why is that?
you're just doing it wrong. Because you get access to armor and shit for free. You don't lose spell levels. You get access to a free cantrips that you can switch at will that you don't need to write in a book. Because you just like it's so many benefits to taking one level of cleric if you're any kind of spellclasser. You're doing it wrong if you don't do it. Please help. I'm trying to help you. Help me help you. All right. Just do it.
So at least one level of cleric for any caster. Got it.
Preferably knowledge cleric, because then that way it's still flavorful. You're just a fucking nerd. All right.
I'm running a campaign right now where I've got a druid and I went one level of life domain cleric because he's, the support and the healer. So all my stuff, like I can do good berries, and I'm getting, at level 1, I'm getting the +3 on the good berries. So instead of being, 1 HP, now it's 4 if I cast it at, second level, now it's, 5 and I have 10 of these at once.
Yeah. I've
Each day.
actually done a similar concept, but almost the opposite way, where my first level was druid, and then the rest is going to be life domain cleric. So,
yeah,
but it's a similar thing. At early levels, I can just hand out essentially tiny little healing potions.
Yep.
It's just dope. And as a spellcaster, you're gonna want wisdom anyway. So either the cleric or the wizard dip just makes sense. And both of the wizard and the cleric gets like their specialization within 1 or 2 levels anyway. So it's just like a little quick dip. You're like, hey, I'm just over here for a little bit. Hey, profit. There you go.
Awesome. All right. So always for the spellcasters, a level of cleric. What else? What are the other reasons you guys multiclass?
I like it for the creativity based off of, what purpose you want to go to, what kind of, role. Hey, what's your background? What's your backstory? I spend so much time on each of my characters basing that. I'm like, okay, where's this guy coming from? What's his motivation? What type of role do I want this guy to, play in the party? Whether it's a tank, it's a DPS, it's support, utility, is he a healer? Is he a hybrid combination of those different things?
I'll agree with that. I come from a perspective very role play heavy. It's the actress in me. I want to have a solid character before I have the metagamey mechanics behind it. So I've made some real dumb choices in terms of class levels before, in terms of crunch, where I'm like, this isn't useful, but it's what she would do. So
I've done a character like that before too.
Yeah. I think that flavor of it though is what makes each one different, because otherwise, I mean, you've got so many crunch books right now, so you've got so many classes that you could choose from, so you have an infinite supply of things to pair and mix and match, but giving it flavor and bringing it to life is what makes it a role-playing game and is what makes it fun, in my opinion. What else, guys?
I think that the one case and the episodic group that you've got going right now is a perfect example. When you need to fill a role in your party composition, that would be a perfect time to multiclass. Yeah. Like Chris is saying, if you're a wizard and you haven't dipped into cleric, Phelan should totally take 4th level as a cleric 1 level, so that he can start casting healing spells just enough to keep the party going. He can do his burning hands still, he can do his magic missile still, but then when Gareth goes down, he can hit him with the cure light, bring him back up, and we won't worry about Flint because Flint will take care of himself.
He'll put out the fire.
But yeah, but with Sarsora being gone, there's that hole. There's no cleric in the group, so somebody should, there should be just some discussion among the players of, well, Flint's like, I'm the rogue and I'm trying to get to my plus 3d6 sneak attack damage. Phelan be like, hey, it doesn't hurt my class that much. I'll take the level of cleric. Somebody needs to take the hit and multi-class when somebody steps out.
It is. Yeah, it is nothing but upside, really. Because even though he only has like access to like level 1 like cleric spells, he can cast them at level 3 or wherever the fuck he's gonna cast them at with his wizard slots if he really wants to. So it's just nothing. It's doing nothing but adding versatility to what he can bring to the group. It's just
And then to
nothing
help
but
him
upside.
more, if he goes to life, then automatically he's going to get it, where he's going to get to any healing spells. He's going to have 2 plus the spell level. So even with only the 1 level into it, if he's casting a second, third level spell, second level spell, that's going to be, another plus 4. It's a plus 5 at the 3rd level and stuff to just boost up the healing even more.
I'm gonna need to get
But
him
even if
to
he
watch this before we're ready to air it.
But like, say even if he wants to do something more thematic, say like he wants to like go in Sarsora's path or something, and she's the
Ogma.
searing one, right? Ogma.
Well,
Like I
Chris
forget
is Ogma.
exactly which domain she is.
Yeah,
right? I'm assuming it's the fire one, right?
I can't remember because she doesn't talk about it that much, so I can't quite remember what she's.
Okay, but say she went light or the blaster one, it would still work for him, and he would get those benefits for his like searing flames or fucking spheres or whatever he's casting, and then he could still throw fucking healing word or like gentle repose. I still think that gentle repose. Everybody should have that shit. All right. When shit goes down, you need to save your peoples, all right?
So Chris, you had mentioned as we were talking about putting this together that aside from clerics, which I know you now feel very strongly about, that it's helpful to multi-class because so many of the classes are front-loaded now. So what did you mean by that?
Well, mostly like in that case with the clerics, fighters are fantastic starting classes no matter where you're going, and that makes it everybody can pick up a sword, right? And then your journey begins there, right? So fighters get a shitload of benefits if you're trying to be a martial class. Even if you're trying to be a barbarian or whatnot, you get a fighting style, you get access to like heavy armor off the get, and you just get that shit. It's just like a huge benefit. Same with clerics, depending on which domain you get. You even get specializations at first level. Like he was saying, I want to be a life cleric. You just get 1 level of life cleric. Any healing spell you can get, you can just channel divinity. Boom, just extra damage. Or like I just made a storm cleric, and any lightning spell I can do, I'm just gonna do extra fucking damage. There's max damage and shit. Just cleric. Like, so stuff like that, and it's just 1 or 2 level dip. It's easy. And who doesn't love second wind and fucking action surge and shit? Getting 2 actions at level 2 for real? Awesome.
Yeah, Action Surge and Second Wind both are absolutely great. The Barbarian being able to rage, recklessly attack, Bards, the Bardic Inspiration, being your good support. Even though, don't play Bards.
Why not? I got a 20th level Bard.
A
I was
20th
gonna
level?
say,
I think
if Danny was here in chat, he would say Bard is best.
I
So.
know.
I
The
think
thing is, it's
bards
nothing
make
against
the best spellcasters. Actually, I
it's
think.
nothing against
can, definitely.
bards. I just apparently I realized this. I realized that I am a bard, and I've never liked playing bards because like, why play what you are in real life? So, but it didn't like connect for me until I like wrote out my stats one day, and I was like, man, a strength I'm probably at a 9. Dex I'm probably like 11, maybe 12. And then I was like, charisma is going to be high, intelligence and wisdom. God damn it, I'm a bard. So I definitely like, I think it's because I tend to be, I play more aggressively. So I like being characters that can hit hard or zap hard and stuff like that. And bards can, but they also make very good supports. And that's what I see a lot happening with bards. And that's just not my personal jam.
Bard can literally do whatever the fuck it wants. Like,
Yeah.
magical secrets is a fucking thing, man. You do, you
Yeah,
do
and what's
whatever it
that?
is you please.
Once you get to 10th level, is that the one where you can pick a spell from any spell list?
Yeah, this is
wow.
magical
Yeah.
secrets. So, like,
Magical
you're just
secret.
like,
Yeah.
you're just like, hey, this from whatever, literally whatever list
Yeah.
I want, I can do that shit.
Yeah.
I
And
also
especially
seen bards that beat shit up people in hand-to-hand combat,
Yeah.
just
I guess-
uppercut motherfuckers in
I get-
ceilings and shit.
I guess I play in too many campaigns that end before 10th level.
Yeah.
A lot of them end.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think
Okay,
that's
sorry.
actually one of the reasons I multi-class half the time too, is because I know I'm never going to get to level 20. So I might as well do something fun now.
That's
yeah,
fair.
you might as well have your cake and eat it.
Yeah.
Neat.
And I was
Alright.
actually gonna say, we talked about the wizard that he needs to take a level in cleric. What he could do instead of trying to dip into cleric is just once he hits 4th level, take a feat. The healer feat is very good. It's a limited resource, but the wizard can still get as many spells. He can still save here. He can still have faster access to like fireball and all that fun stuff. That's the only thing when you start multiclassing is then you kind of start losing, your full potential, as we talked about the purity. So that'd be
Mhm.
something to kind of, so you don't have to say you need to play cleric, which I'll never tell a play person how to, they
Chris
should
will.
pick.
Oh,
Yeah.
I will. I have no problems telling you. All right, here. All right, I hear what you say. Can I rebut? All right. So you're
As
trading.
long as he's
So
done.
like,
Daniel, are you done?
oh, are you done?
No,
Are
no,
you?
no,
My
no.
bad.
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Okay. So we're trading. We're trading access to fireball one level one level slower, right? Your spell slot will still be the same. You just won't be able to learn fireball until like level 6, right? Instead of fireball, you literally get access to 6 different level 1 spells that you never had access to before, and then you have access to like 3 cantrips that you couldn't get previously. And then those things that you typically have to learn and write in a book, you can switch on the fly. So in reality, you have access to all level 1 cleric spells and all cleric cantrips for a 1 level dip versus, hey, I could throw fireball at level 5 versus 6.
I could see.
Which would you choose?
I could see Daniel's point though, because like I would be real disappointed in a high level game if I got to level 19 as a wizard and then I can't get to level 20 as a wizard because I took that fucking level of cleric.
But by then you're already casting. You need to cast another level 6 spell one more time.
Yeah.
Like, nah, you're good.
Yes.
You're good. You don't need to cast one more level 6 spell. I would much rather have heavy armor and a shitload of cantrips that now explode everything on contact because I'm a 20th level character now, and I can switch them on the fly.
I think
And I still don't see the downside to this. And then you got benefits for
Chris,
19 levels.
let's
till this
let Robert
one point.
talk now.
So specifically with 5th edition, one of the things that you have to look at is the progression from 1st to 20th level is not linear. So if you're going to be stuck at that 1 level for a long time before you can learn that 3rd level spell, you're going to hinder your party, especially if
Mhm.
the DM is throwing stuff at you that requires fireball, and you're like, yeah, guys, I gotta wait, 6,000 more experience points, and everybody else is like,
Yeah.
can we get him a wand or
Yeah.
something?
I've
You
had that conversation.
You had talked, Robert,
For real?
in the chat. You had talked about doing your party a disservice if you multiclass the wrong way.
hmm
So is
Oh
that
yeah.
what you mean in terms of
Oh, yeah.
like, yeah? So
Yeah.
your DM is ready for a party of 6th level, or 5th level, bad guys or whatever, but you've got a 4th level wizard with 1 level of
hmm
cleric, so you're not getting the firepower that you really need.
Yeah.
So that can really depend
Okay.
on your campaign and your GM.
I think, yeah, I mean, that's true. And if a one level difference is the make or break of your party's makeup, it's not just your cleric wizard. Everybody's fucking up, right? Someone's messed up. No, like legitimately, if my one level is the make or break of our entire group, that what you couldn't get one more AC, you couldn't get one more strength, so you hit on 18s, or you know what I'm saying?
Well,
Like
let's think about
like it's not, you can't
episodicals
put it
though.
all on me,
But let's think about
all right?
episodicals
Just
and where
because I
that
can't
is.
fireball.
Let's think about episodicals and where that is. So they just lost
Okay.
Sarsora, so they just lost their healer, right? But let's say
Mhm.
that really Gareth misses a lot and he falls down
He
a lot.
does.
Um,
He definitely does.
Flint
Yeah.
does a lot of damage, but he falls down a fair deal too. Jedediah doesn't do melee. He can only do
Mhm.
range, and he's great at range, but let's say that puts him out. The only hitter, someone that can hit hard and do a lot of HP damage, is Phelan.
Yeah.
So to take him away from being that firepower and just keep picking up Gareth to fall back down again, is that wasteful?
No. I think it is up, no, like legitimately. I think it is up to him or Phelan to recognize what needs to be done in the moment. Legitimately. He's literally not losing anything. So okay, like at 5th level is where that's going to come into play, just because 3rd level spells are overpowered by design. Any other level, it's not that big a deal. That's the one time it actually matters, right? But like, say if I could still cast flaming sphere at a 3rd level spell as a 3rd level spell slot, I just don't literally have fireball. Like, versus I can now say healing word and then pick up Phelan from, or pick up Gareth from 30 feet away or whatever, and then move to a position to then help anybody else out with other healing
My
spells or whatnot.
argument, though, would be give Gareth the healing potions and have him run around, because if he's not hitting and adding to the HP anyway, and if
Okay.
he's easier to hit, why not have him run around and arguably like have more use that way? I mean, even
Put
though
him in a
he's,
support role.
what was that?
Like, I don't
Yeah.
think we can have
You
our
put him in a
chocolate and our
support
peanut
role.
butter. He could still carry health potions, so when he's not fucked up and on the ground, like he could pass them out or drink them before that happens. But once he's unconscious, like him having health potions doesn't help him. I'd have to rummage through his pockets, or I could just be like, "Hey, bro, get up," with the healing word, and then
So
he's good.
clearly Chris is not going to change his mind. Does anyone else have thoughts on this whole hot take on clerics?
I was actually
sorry.
going to add too. If we're going on like the party composition and someone should take a hit, I think the group party as a whole should have that discussion. So if there's someone there that's like, well, I'm more of a support guy, I'm a range guy, so I can sneak in. And again, like the healer feat is a good backup. So it's
Mhm.
all right. I'm gonna run in there. Boom. I got or I got whoever up, and then I'm gonna run back and go to range, and then the wizard can still bring the pain. But again, I mean, if that should just be a group discussion of who should
Yeah.
Who
It
should
really
do what
depends
then?
on the game and your party makeup at that point.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
absolutely agree, and I think that that's a really good way to do it as a collaborative game. But arguably, as well, just to play devil's advocate, is should the party be deciding on your character's advancement? So if I notice that we have we have a lack of if I'm Phelan and I notice we have that lack, do I discuss it with my group and go, I was just thinking about studying something new, and what should I spend my time on, family? Or is he going to be like, man, I could choose to help pick them up, or I could end the threat faster? Like,
Hmm.
it's that makeup of, you don't want to screw your party by just being an asshole, right? But you also
Mhm.
shut up, Robert. I see you thinking too loudly there. Stop being Kender Mage. But no, I think that's it's the give and take, and it's the pros and cons, and how you prefer to play, and your character and your makeup as well. Anything else in terms of the pros of multiclassing? Why do it? Why do it? Any other thoughts that we haven't covered?
I kind of see it
'Cause
as a creative challenge in a way sometimes too.
I like that. Can you tell us more?
Uh, well, one of the concepts that I had maybe like 10, 15 years ago, back before 5th edition, before I even really started playing Pathfinder or whatnot, was the 12 base classes, 12th level character. Crazy concept. It was pretty much a fever dream when I came up with it. And the main idea when I initially thought up of it is, I don't think this would work. But I want to try. I want to try to find a way to make it work.
Wow.
And I finally, maybe about a month ago, got to try him out in a one shot that my friend ran, and it kind of worked. But of course, I had to take very specific first levels in a very specific way.
Yeah, how do you even keep track
Uh,
of all the abilities and
you kind of don't.
oh,
But it is
Just
one
let
of the
your hacker
things,
do it.
like, I made myself a rule at the beginning that I didn't want any one level to be just a dump level, just to do the concept. I wanted something from each class to somehow benefit the end character.
okay.
So because of monk, that means I don't have armor. Uh, but with a lot of the other classes, I have the cantrips, favorite enemy, rage, that sort of thing, sneak attack and whatnot. And I was able to find a way to make it mix. But the main problem I ran into is most of the time in D&D, most combats don't really go past the third round. Or if by then they kind of start either winding down, or your character should be as good as they would be in the combat, like essentially as revved up as they could be. Whereas the character I had, I kind of needed 4 rounds to get going because of everything I had to activate as well as fighting. And yeah, by the time I was finally like, hey, this is my entire character concept, oh, it's dead.
Oh. So
So yeah.
there's a balance, it sounds like, between how many classes is too
Mhm.
many classes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I knew going in
Mm.
that this wasn't really the best idea, but it was just trying to see how it could happen.
Right. Well, and even,
So
you tend to get the
that's
higher
the one shot.
you tend to get the higher spell slots as you level up in
Mhm.
a specific class. So only
Exactly.
having cantrips along the way or
Mhm.
level 1 spells
Yep.
kind of limits you in that way.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I had a lot of I think I can't remember exactly, but I think I had up to 3rd level slots, but only 1st level spells and
Oh.
cantrips. So I tried to choose my spells so that I could cast them at higher levels, just to make those useful,
Hmm.
but I did miss out on a lot of spells. And by the time I was done making the character, I almost had every cantrip in the game, which is very situationally useful. But when you're in the middle of a combat and you're trying to activate something from what was it, from like rage to a hexblade ability to like I had so many things to try to activate in order to just to do the full concept. I didn't have enough actions to be
Okay.
able to really make that happen.
Do you think if you, knowing what you know now, if you were to go back, you'd be able to maximize on that a little bit more?
Yeah.
Okay.
I could pretty much take the same character story concept and just boil it down to 1 or 2 classes
Oh,
and
okay.
still have the same concept, but be more focused. So
Okay.
it was definitely a fun experiment.
So how about the rest of you? Like, is there a maximum level or a maximum number of classes that you'll take before you're like, all right, I am a barbarian cleric and that's it? Like, what does that look like to you guys?
I'll say
wouldn't
for
go
myself,
past 3.
2.
Yeah, I'd say no more than 3.
Yeah,
No
Yeah,
more than
2 or 3 is
3.
all I'll ever do.
Yeah.
I don't ever go
Yeah.
past a third one. Usually, I don't even grab a third one. Usually, I build
Yeah.
a character based off of 2 classes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, that's helpful.
And that's what I find most multi-classes do is it's just a mix of 2 classes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even just when you get to third, like 3 different classes, you're pretty much playing someone with split personalities at that point. So
Okay.
Your character was the epitome of, multiple personality disorder.
yeah. The 12 different class characters was pretty much like playing a character with ADHD.
Okay.
Just like I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this.
Trying to piece it all together where it's,
exactly.
you
Try
want
to do
rage,
everything,
but
and
also
then
get
you-
your sneak attack, but
Yeah.
also get your stunning strike, but
Exactly,
also get your
exactly.
yeah, that's a little rules
Yeah.
heavy there.
Yeah, it was a little ridiculous, but it was
Okay.
fun still. And we fought a black dragon
Ooh.
that I think was a decent enough CR and everything for the age we fought. And my character helped out definitely in that encounter. But if it wasn't for the fighter, we wouldn't have killed it.
Oh. Okay.
Because the fighter was the one doing the damage the entire time, whereas I was like, I'm helping us see into the magical darkness. That's what I'm here for. That's almost it. I'm kind of doing some damage every once in a while, but
So,
Yeah.
is there kind of talking about these semantics of how many classes or too many classes and stuff like that? Is there a level that you? I think we kind of touched on this, but is there a level that you prefer to reach before you add that class? Do you do 1 1 1 1 level 3 for Robert? So
For me,
on level
it
3,
varies.
you choose a new one, or on level 4 you have 3 levels of something else, and then on level 4 you choose one.
Generally, I take at least 3 levels in the primary class before switching out to.
So
another
level
class.
4 you would take another class.
Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Nomar?
So for me, like I was saying, based off the class, it's going to vary between 3 to 5 levels, especially when I start off with a character. Because if it's stuff, fighter, ranger stuff like that, sometimes I like to have 3. You get to your archetype, but then 4th level you can either get the feat or the attributes. 5th level you get that extra attack.
Mm.
So how I want to balance that, and then going into whatever class I'm going to take with it.
Okay.
Like what I'm working on with my ranger build now, I have it at level 4 right now. So I've got the 3 levels in ranger. I've taken the shroud one. So basically, it's a very human. So I gave it where it's got the feat to begin with crossbow expert. So I've got my attack, and then as a bonus, I can attack with the hand crossbow and everything again. But with the other ability, like the umbral sight, it gives the human dark vision, and then it makes it where any creature that relies on dark vision to see you. So when you're in dungeons, most times you're gonna come up against no torches, but all these creatures can have dark vision. They're relying on that. They can't see me. I'm effectively still invisible. So that's why I threw my 1 level into rogue, because then I'm almost guaranteed to be able to get a sneak attack every round. After that, I'm gonna go back and put the 2 more levels into the ranger for sharpshooter feat, and then get that second attack. So then it's gonna be 3 attacks each round. A 4th one if I actually start with if I'm the first one to really attack with it,
Wow.
and I stick that way. And most classes, that's how I'm gonna base it off of is 3 to 5 levels, with the exception for me of the cleric, because I never really made a cleric, but I always grab the 1 level for life cleric. So if I'm doing a support or a healer type thing, that's what I'll do.
I'm gonna have to ask you to not agree with Chris in the future.
Right, right.
If-
Always take
when
that
I'm
one level
right,
of
I'm
cleric,
right.
apparently.
He doesn't need that.
I know.
That
Also, he's breaking the other
Okay.
rule of never multi-class with a rogue. So,
Yeah. So like he's just doing all
I
that
do
shit,
break that
and
rule.
I didn't make him do it.
yeah. But it's fine. I tend to
Alright.
want to go against the grain too. So,
I think like it depends on the class for me. So like say if you want to do like a martial, like if I want to do a barbarian, I'm probably going to start off as a fighter because I want that two-handed specialization for that great axe, baby. Like I could always take the heavy armor off or I could put it on, but I'd like to have that option or I can sell that shit later. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like
that would come
in
handy if
action
you get jumped
surge
in a
or
camp.
whatnot.
what was that, Andrew?
Yeah,
That would get handy
exactly.
if you're jumped in a camp. You know,
Yeah.
middle of the night encounter, you didn't have time to put on your armor. Doesn't matter.
Oh,
Yeah,
fucking
that's nice.
rage.
Yeah.
Ugh!
Cool.
So it's like
Yeah.
it just depends on the character concept you're going
Mhm.
with or whatnot. Some
Yeah.
people would be better served, like, hey, I should probably, actually be like a berserker barbarian before I decide to be like a fucking ranger or something or whatever they want to fucking do.
Yeah.
So
I
let's
But
think
yeah,
if
it's just a case by case.
go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah. I think if you are really wanting to multi-class or whatnot for your concept, but you still don't know how to make it synergize very well, then doing the at least 3 levels of the base one is a good way to go. Because since you don't really know exactly how you want to do it, at least you are a set, this is what I can do in respect to the rest of the game at
Okay.
that point. So it gives you
Uh,
a decent base to kind of just mess around if you want to do it.
So let's say that your GM starts you guys at 12th level. Is that going to impact your decision to multi-class?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna have a multi-class character at level 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like my
How
crazy
much I'm
concept.
multiclassing.
Yeah.
Robert,
Yeah.
you look uncertain.
It depends on the party composition, and if we don't have the cleric, if we don't, I'm probably going to take the rogue at 12th level so that I can be dealing out all the damage.
Yeah. That's a good go to.
Fair.
Mm.
So, I want to kind of do a quick roundtable real quick. What is your favorite recommended multi-class? So, all said and done, do you believe in the barbarian? Do you believe in the cleric druid? What is your one thing that you could recommend to our audience? Let's start with Chris.
All right. A Sorlock or a Sorkadin is you can't fucking go wrong. You
What now?
mix your chocolate and your oh, you've never heard of the Sorlock or the Sorkadin?
No.
Oh, you sweet summer child. All right,
man.
here. All right, here you go. You take sorcerer, right?
Oh,
And then you take warlock, okay? And then you get to just annihilate fucking warlock spells and turn them into fucking sorcery points and do whatever the fuck magical bullshit you want to. Because on short rest, you get all those slots back.
awesome. Okay.
And so it lets you do ridiculous things. And then same thing with paladins, because they both use charisma. All three of them use charisma.
So
as
your
their,
sorcerer is your base,
spell.
and then you go to either warlock or paladin. How
Yeah.
about you, Andrew?
The best one I've done is a ranger bard so far.
Okay.
It was a hunter ranger, and then the College of Swords bard. So he ended up being able to do a ridiculous amount of damage at range, but even if he got close, he pretty much still was able to do the same amount of damage.
Okay.
So it was really
Alright.
helpful. I was able to support the party half the time as well. So it really worked out well with how it kind of formed together.
Great.
But the one I've always wanted to do was a paladin rogue,
A progue.
just for like
Rogue
what a
it is.
Fucking
vengeance
smite
paladin,
sneak attacks.
but with some rogue. So like he's going into the criminal underworld to seek his vengeance, kind of
Okay.
concept. But I've
Okay.
never been able to play it or build it, so I don't know how it would work.
Okay. watch our casting call channel. That'd be fun to play with.
Yeah.
Milmerg, how about you?
I'm probably gonna say arcane archer fighter with an assassin rogue. I know
Ooh,
I keep breaking the whole, you gotta go pure rogue. But I always start with something else, and I always grab rogue into it because I like to play a dex-based fighter of some type. It doesn't have to exactly be a fighter, but I do the same thing, with that ranger build I've got going on right now as well. I like having stuff like that, where I can be sneaky, stealthy. Arcane Archer just has so many really cool things it can do. A curved shot. Different. Banishing shot, things like that. You add critical to. You add. The sneak attack and criticals and stuff with it, with the assassinate. Perks and everything. It works out great.
awesome. That sounds really fun. Daniel, how about you?
I don't really have a favorite one, but the one I currently have for multiclass, he's a Goliath Berserker Battlemaster fighter, and that's only because the Berserker was really cool up until level 7 or 8, just because all the other abilities based on like I gotta intimidate, and I'm like I don't got charisma. Why would I need that? I'll just kill it. So why do I need a? So then I'm like, well, I'll just do a Battlemaster fighter. So it's like okay, cool little field battle control and get I'm a level 10 right now. He's a level 18. I just need one more level, and then he can do
Mhm.
3 attacks and then rage. So
Great. Awesome.
or
Battlemaster also just does just most DPS of all the fighter classes, right?
it depends.
With the
Samurai's really
Battlemaster
good if
VI,
you wanna. Samurai's really good if you want to alpha strike somebody because you get your fighting spirit, and if you're high level, and because you get
you
advantage,
get
so that one
advantages.
round,
Yeah.
and you could just go
Yeah.
all in.
Robert, how about you?
Straight rogue? Is that an answer?
If you have to multi-class,
Multiclass and spirit.
you are having fun our way.
He's got a rogue multiclass inside a rogue.
Right. I don't think you can mix two different archetypes of the same class.
Um, the last time that I multiclassed was in 3.0, and I did a cleric wizard. But in 5th edition, if I had to do it, I would probably do a cleric sorcerer because of the charisma based spell casting.
Yeah,
and
charisma would synergize better.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. And finally, before we leave off here, I wanted to give you guys a chance to hype multi-classing in another game. So if you really like it or really hate it in another game that's out there besides D&D, I wanted to give you guys a chance to weigh in on that real quick. So does anyone have something they want to... Of course, Robert.
So my first Shadowrun character was a Decker mage in 1st edition, and they were totally supposed to be incompatible, but I have always been in love with the Decker mage archetype in Shadowrun. Even though there aren't any true classes in Shadowrun, mixing the archetypes and the skills and everything, I've always loved doing that. It doesn't make me the best mage or the best Decker, but I have access to astral space, matrix, and meat space. So
Neat. So instead of being a technomancer, which is like a computer mage, you just went full mage versus Decker. Neat. Okay. Anyone else for another game system? Andrew.
Another system that does kind of like in the sense where Shadowrun doesn't do actual classes, they're more like ideas of different roles to fill.
Yeah.
I did a vampire masquerade character, but I made a intelligent gangrel. So he ended up in a lot of situations where, our enemy in whatever way would come in, I'd be hacking a computer and they'd just be like, oh, this is just some smart guy. And then I'd tear him apart. So it's like playing the computer hacker that's also a ridiculous martial artist.
That's awesome.
It's super fun. Yes, social ends up being the spot where you're like, but it works out pretty good and it's pretty fun.
And you can't be good at everything, so it gives you that balance.
Yeah.
But neat. I really like that idea. It's been years since I played Vamps the Masquerade. I was a Malkavian because, of course, why wouldn't I be?
Yeah. Most of the time, like the tests they have of what clan you would be, half the time I get either Toreador or Malkavian.
Awesome. Like-minded. Like-minded.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to weigh in on game system? All right. Favorite multi-class, other games. I think I've covered all of the questions. So thank you all so much for joining me. This is our first episode of Zone of Truth. Clearly, this ritual spell lasted a little longer than 10 minutes, but we'll make the allowance. So thank you all for joining us for hot takes on RPG rules and worlds. This was multiclassing. I feel like I learned a lot because I am not a crunch kind of person. So hearing what other people do and the pros and cons behind it is really cool. And I might dabble with some of this in future games. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and we'll see you next time.